Hey dolls, welcome back to another video. So this video in particular is for one of my friends on YouTube, Nadine. This is for you. So I know you were asking me about ombres, and I just want to kind of give you examples because I could show you better than I could tell you. So bear with me. I'm going to put some tips on Lola here, our beautiful volunteer for the day. Let me just get some of this stuff out of the way. So, you were saying that you have some issues with the Cover Nude blush, with it, leaving a harsh line or blending. What I can suggest is possibly using it a little bit wetter, and I will show you that. So I have prepped Lola's nails. I'm going to glue a couple tips on there. And I will be right back once I got those on. Okay, so what I've done here is I've put on 3 tips on Lola. I'm going to start with this first one here. I've already gone in. I'm going to put some of this OPI Band-Aid on the nail bed area only. So a little goes a long way. You don't need to saturate it. And I always go in with 2 coats on every nail, okay, before I use my primer. This just gives you that extra insurance policy as far as dehydrating it a little extra before you go in with your primer. As far as primer, I use my No Lift Nails Acid Base primer. With an acid base, you're going to want to go in after it's dried. You don't want to wait too long because then it's no good anymore and you have to go in with more. Again, little less is more with this product as well. You don't want to saturate the nail because it is acid base. Even with acidless, you don't want to use a lot either. With acidless, however, you want to go in while it's still damp, okay? So I'm just going to go in with a coat on here. I'm going to go in with my second coat. Now, the colors that I'm using are strength powders, so I don't need to go in with a clear base. I usually do, however, just because when my clients come back, I like to have that something, a little something to file back down to. So I'm going to just kind of zoom in here a little bit, move the camera somewhat. So you can really see what I'm doing here. Okay, so I have my number 14 round here. Okay, and then I have my number 12 alpha round. It's supposed to be oval, but it's a round. The way you could tell an oval from a round is simple, actually. With oval, you're gonna have that tip pinched, see? And you can see it's nice and flat. With these ones, however, the round, there's no pinch at that tip. It's just a circle. So that's your round brush. These are your ovals, pinched at the metal base of the brush here, okay? So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with my color at the free edge first. These are my pinched, tapered coffin tips, okay? I got them like this. I got them on AliExpress. If you're interested in knowing where, just let me know below and I will get that link to you. So I'm just going to make sure that all the air bubbles are out of my brush first, which is very important, especially when you're using clear, because you don't want to be able to see any of those bubbles after you top coat, right? So, okay. Now, I'm going to use some of my own colors, and I'm going to also use a Glam and Glitz color. I'm also using my Mia Secret Cover Nude Blush, which is what you had a question about. So, Nadine, I'm going to go in first with a Glam and Glitz because I know you like to use Glam and Glitz. So, I'm going to be using Glam and Glitz Diamond Acrylic Collection in the color Love Me. Okay, so this is a very beautiful shimmery teal blue. It's very, very pretty. So I'm going to start at the base and I'm going to show you how you can get that nice transition with your ombre. Okay, so I'm going to go in with a medium bead. This is how my bead looks on my brush, okay? I'm using my number 14. Again, I'm just putting this at that joint area, and then I'm blending up first. And don't worry if you get some way up there, it's fine. You could go in afterwards and clean it up a little if you want to. I'm not worried about it because I'm going to cover it with my nude. And I'm just patting from side to side, making sure my side walls are nice and tucked and pulling the rest of that product down. But the most important part is blending at that joint area. You want it to be as smooth as possible. You don't want a harsh line when you're doing your ombres, okay? You don't want that ledge that you'll be able to see. And if you have that, you're going to have to keep building up and up. And then you're going to be stuck with a bulky nail, which is no bueno. So I am just kind of perfecting this color a little bit more. I'm going to go in with a little bit of a wetter bead now. I only dabbed it on the side a little bit. So there's my bead. It's wet, wetter than the first. I'm going to place that right at the free edge. And I'm going to pull that up. So I'm going to start with my sides. And then my center, right? Because I want as little on the sides as possible. I want the bulk of the acrylic up the center. Because that's where the body of your nail is going to be. You don't want a bunch on the sides because then you're going to get a big, thick, blocky looking nail. Nobody likes that, right? So, as you can see, it's kind of patchy in some areas. And that's fine. It's probably just happening because of the angle of I have the camera. It's not kind of ideal, but I really wanted to give you guys a close-up look of how I blended this joint area. You see how it's nice and thin up here. Now, when I go in with my nude, you're not going to be able to even see that line because I've blended it so much here at the joint. You can even go in with some extra liquid and wet that up a little bit and make it even thinner. Glam and Glitz colors are perfect for this because they're a wet system. So I'm just going to grab a little more and put it right here in a space where I am missing some of the color. I'm going to let it kind of dry a little bit just so the bulk of it stays right there. Because if you use a wet bead in a certain area that you want it to be and you go to drag it, you're going to pull all that color off where you just work so hard to place it. So there that is, okay? And now I'm ready to add my nude. So you see how this line here is so thin and blended that you can't even really tell that it's there. That's where your nude is going to come down over. And I'm going to show you this, okay? I'm going to take my nude, right? My brush is really wet, okay? So I'm going to dip that in there, kind of dab like 3 times. Pull my bead out, and you see how wet that is? That's going to make it easier, okay, to blend. So you're going to want to place at the cuticle area. Tuck in your sides right there. You don't want to play with the top too much. You kind of just want to pat it into place and then pull down your sides. Kind of go to the other side, make sure it's in place good, and then start pulling down from the sides. You don't want to do too much up at the top here because it does its own thing. You don't really need to play with it too much. Once it's there, it kind of just flows into place, and you just want to make sure your side walls are tucked. And look at that blend so far. I mean, you know, it's not perfect, but we're getting there. So I'm just going to take a little bit more of a wet bead, and I'm going to place it right here and kind of just cover up some of that extra blue in that joint area. And then I'm just going to feather that down. So I put it where I wanted it, and then I feathered it down, okay? As you can see, you can put as much or as little as you want. You can wet your brush and kind of wipe off some of that and then pull the rest, okay? You could do it however you want it. And if you're not satisfied with how that looks, you can take, the key here is to work with small wet beads if you're not happy with the blend area. So I just took a little bit more right there. I'm gonna wait for it to dry just a little bit so the color stays right there where I want it. As you all know, when you work with a wet bead, the color is not going to be as opaque. So you want to make sure that, yes, you're going in wet, but you give it some time to kind of dry there. So now that I fixed that area, I'm going to take a little bit more of my Love Me color and I'm going to blend a little bit of that up. So now you're going to really have that perfect ombre. And there's no right or wrong way to do this. As long as you have the same result at the end, it doesn't really matter, huh? So I'm just going to pull up those sides and then pull up my center. Okay? And there you have it. I mean, right or wrong, that's really nice. And then you could cap it. You see that nice shape there? It's nice and flush at the cuticle. It comes up a little bit and then it comes out. And if you want to protect your ombre when you go into file, you can cap this area in clear. You don't have to do the whole nail. You can if you want to. I usually do. Just to give me that extra protection. So that is the ombre with the glam and glitz, okay? And I hope that that helped. If you need me to explain anything a little further, just let me know. I'm going to move on to some of my own homemade colors. And actually, this green on my nails is a color that I made myself from pigment that I got from Deborah Sweeney, okay? And I have my Kelly green here. I have my Cinderella blue, and I have my magenta, which is a beautiful, beautiful, oh my goodness, it's really, really stunning color. I'm going to use this one next so you can see how gorgeous this color is. So I usually go in and file this joint area just to kind of, you know, blend the nail, and so that extra bump right there from the tip doesn't give you that harsh ledge either, okay? The file I'm using is a 150 grit, and I'm just blending those side corners because you don't want those sticking out in the acrylic, and they will. If you don't blend them properly, they will stick out. So again, these are my tapered coffin tips. They already come pre-pinched and they're amazing. I love the way they look. It takes away the filing. And so I'm going to go in here with some of the Band-Aid once again, because that's going to help me. Okay, so 2 coats of that. A little goes a long way, remember. And you can find these at any of your local beauty supply, nail supply places. I'm going to go in with my No Lift Nails primer, which is an acid base. Once again, you're going to want to wait till it dries to go in with your acrylic. Don't wait too long, however. Okay, so I'm going to add a little bit of that. And remember, a little with this goes a long way as well. You don't want to overdo it because you can burn your client if they have a cut or anything like that. You don't want that getting on their skin because they can become allergic to this. If you wipe their skin with monomer to clean up your edges and you're getting monomer all over the skin, there is a couple people that do that on YouTube, and it just, oh my God, it aggravates me every time I see it. I'm not trying to be rude. Honestly, I'm not, but that's not what you should be doing and subjecting your clients to. So now I'm going to go in with my number 12 Alpha round brush, okay? This is just showing you that you can do this with just about any brush as long as it's decent quality. I'm going to start with my color at the bottom, and the next one I'll start with the nude first and show you that you could do it either way. I personally like this way better just because it's easier for me this way. So I'm going to start at the joint here, and look how gorgeous that color is. Oh my God. So I'm going to blend this up like so. You see how I'm doing that, Nadine? And then I'm going to tuck my sides and start pulling those down. Now, obviously, I didn't pick up enough of a bead to pull it all the way down. So I'm just going to feather that there and get some more. As you can see, it's such a gorgeous, rich magenta color. It really is. It's beautiful. I personally feel that working wetter with wetter beads, especially with an ombre, it's easier. It makes it easier, especially if you're a beginner. It is harder to control your bead, yes, but you will get the hang of it with more practice and just keep trying. You will get it. I didn't learn this right away. I've been doing nails now for probably a little over 3 years, and I definitely had a very, very hard time getting my acrylic application down to like a science, and I still have a hard time sometimes. And it also depends on like the weather and how hot, how humid, how cold it is. So that definitely adds to the difficultness. So you see how this one blended a lot better. I just did that one a lot better. So there's not going to be a harsh line because it's so blended there. And that's where you're going to want to start. And then you pull the rest of your bead down. So I'm just going to add a little bit here to the free edge. Okay. And pull down. Okay. Because then I'm going to take the rest of it and pull it up. Okay. Making sure that I have all my areas covered with that color. And then I'm just going to kind of pat and make it even on the free edge here. Making sure I don't have like a thick tip, which is important too. Keep that in mind when you're blending and making your ombre, that you want to not make it too thick so you could come and cap it and not have to worry about how thick it is. So now I'm just going to kind of go into like one area right here where it's kind of missing a little bit of color right there. And just kind of dab, dab, dab till I'm happy with it. And then pull. Okay. And you could blend it up if you need to. Like that, like so. Okay, and I am happy with the color coverage on that. So now I'm going to go in with my nude here at the top, okay, ladies? And just watch what I'm doing, how I'm placing it, what I'm doing. I'm not really playing with the top part too much, just enough to kind of get it where it needs to be, and that's about it. That is what my bead looks like. It is wet, okay? I'm going to place it right at that cuticle area. I'm going to tuck my sides in. It's already up there, so I don't have to do much. I'm going to pull my sides down first, go to the center, and then go to the other side, tuck it, and pull it down. And you see, it's like, as long as you get to those sidewall areas and you start tucking them like so, you're gonna have almost guaranteed every time to get a perfect blend. Okay, I really like how that one came out. And the cuticle area is nice and flush. You don't have to do much with it. You don't really have to add really any more. I'm going to put a little bit more nude right here at the joint area. Just kind of give it that extra oomph that it needs. It needed a little bit more nude. Okay, and you don't have to put a lot. I mean, like I said, less is always more. We want an equal amount of nude to magenta, so I'm just kind of adding a little bit more. And then you could go in and add a little bit more magenta if you need to, which I will, just to show you that you can keep adding as long as it's still, you know, thin enough. You're gonna make mistakes. That happens. But you gotta believe in yourself and don't be too hard on yourself, because nobody gets it the first try. Okay? So look at that. And you could add more nude right there if you want to, if you feel like, damn, you know, that area is not ombre enough for me, or I don't like the blend. You can most certainly go in right here. I personally think it needs a little more nude. Go in right here. Basically, I'm like patting my brush upward so I don't have to turn it around and blend it up. There are ways to do that. Make sure your brush is wet and then pull down. So I left the bulk of it there, let it kind of set a little bit, and then I started pulling it down. Now, because I maybe put a little too much, I'm going to go back in with my color. Okay? I just wanted a little bit more nude. So I definitely have too much though. Not too much as far as bulk, but too much as far as coverage. So I'm going to add my color right here, kind of pull down a little bit, ever so gently, and I'm going to kind of stroke upwards just to kind of add that color where it needs to be. And I'm really, really, really digging this ombre. I'm going to add a little more color because I don't feel like that was enough. But you see, nobody gets it perfect on the first try, okay? I mean, it does happen. It's usually by luck. I mean, if you're seasoned in the game, you still make mistakes, you know? Nobody's perfect. We're not robots. We're human beings. And it happens. Yeah, you know, see, I got a piece of my brush hair in there. So I have to fix now.
Hey, Mom.
Well, luckily, it was still wet enough to fix it. But
that's cool.
You're going to want to tap your free edge and make sure that's even and straight. Okay, you don't want, you see the tip of that? It's not thick, it's not thin. It's about a credit card width and size, maybe a little bit bigger. You don't want too much more than that. But that is my blend on the magenta and the green. I mean, honestly, once you would cap those and put top coat, oh my goodness, they're going to look amazing. So I'm going to go in on this one now with the blue and show you how that color blends. I love you too, buddy.
See you guys.
So I'm going to go in now with the blue, and I'm just going to repeat the process. Okay. I'm going to go in with my Band-Aid. And I'm leaving this like this so I can show you, even if you forget to blend that nail in, there's ways around it. So I'll show you that now. The reason why I like to blend them and scruff up the surface is because the nail is a shiny surface and you don't want the acrylic to just pop right off, which is what it'll do eventually. Okay, go and I'll be right there.
Just tell me
So I'm going to go in with my Cinderella blue at that joint area. And hopefully you guys are like seeing this angle okay. Let me know if it wasn't a good angle or not. And again, I'm going to blend up with the color a little bit. Kind of cover those corners somewhat. And I'm going to pull the rest down. I'm going to pat, and then kind of stroke down because I don't have enough. So I usually like to start with not too big of a bead, especially if I'm not sure, you know, how much I should grab or, you know, but okay. So I pull in my sides and blends up a little bit more, and naturally gravity is going to take hold and pull that bead downward anyways. You see how it's just going down the nail there? Okay, so I'm going to pat and pull. By the way, guys, I'm starting my orientation today for nail school. Finally, they have one in Connecticut. It's a little far from where I live, but I'm so excited because now I'll finally be able to get a certificate and buy from places that I couldn't before. You know, yes, I already practiced doing nails, but in Connecticut, you don't have to be licensed to practice, thank God. It wouldn't be fair, right? Because they don't have this, they didn't have the school up until now, so. But I heard they're going to be changing the laws soon, so. Right now in Massachusetts, the minimum requirement is 100 hours. And I heard in Connecticut, they're going to be putting it to like 500 hours. So I'm going to get like grandfathered in, so to speak. Okay, so I'm just putting the acrylic where I need it. And now you see how those corners are sticking out. Now at the end, when I file, I'm going to have to really file those good. And that's what I meant by blending the joint on the tip. Because you don't want that sticking out on a client, right? I mean, there are ways around it to fix it and everything, but I mean, it's better just to do it from the beginning. Save yourself the work at the end. All right, be right there, buddy. So I'm just kind of patting that into place, okay? This is a lighter color, so yeah, it's going to take a little bit more just to kind of build that up, but that's okay. I'm going to put some more there on the free edge, kind of pull that down, and then blend the rest up right from there. Leave the bulk of it down there because I need it at the free edge. Wipe your brush. You can never clean your brush too much because you don't want it to cake up with acrylic. Okay, and now I'm going to go in with my nude, okay? And again, we're going to put that right at the cuticle area. That's my bead. It's wet, nice and wet. Place it right there. Tuck your sides. Kind of make sure that it's covering all the areas there. Start pulling down. Make sure your brush is wet. If you have to dab it into your acrylic, you can. Because if it's not wet enough, yes, you're going to get a harsh ledge and a harsh line. So you see though how when you tuck your walls and you don't really play with the top too much, it's going to come out basically perfect every time. But however, like I was saying with those corners, it's going to be harder to blend because now you got those corners poking out. But see, it's if you work with it wet, not too wet where it's slopping all over the damn place and you can't catch up to it, but wet enough to where it's going to blend properly. That's the key, okay? And I'm just going to place a little bit more right there. And this is why it's important to clean your brush because you don't want to get acrylic up in spots that come off the brush and just end up sticking to other areas. Okay, so that's your blend on that beautiful Cinderella blue. And I'm just going to take a little tiny bit more and kind of put it right here and blend that color up a little bit. Just so you can't really see the nude too much in that center. But look at that. It's beautiful. Comment, buddy. You can add a little bit more blue right there just so you can't see that streak of nude. And I'm using it wet, so I don't really have to pull up too much, and it's thin. I will, however. But now everything's perfect with that except for those corners that I didn't blend. You see? So this is your result of the ombre. So I'm going to take Lola's nails out of here. Okay. And this is your magenta with the cover nude. And that's the side profile, which is beautiful. This is your Kelly green with the nude. Again, a beautiful blend. And the shape is perfect. And this is your Cinderella blue here. Here's your side profile. Again, perfect. And definitely thin enough to go in and cap with your Mia Secret Clear. I hope that this helped, Nadine. If you have any other questions, hon, please feel free to ask. Until my next one, dolls, thank you so much for stopping by and watching another video of mine. It means the absolute world to me. Oh, that wasn't the Kelly green. I'm sorry. That was the Glam and Glitz Love Me. That's right. Sorry about that, ladies. This is the Kelly green ombre on my fingers right here with the cover nude as well. So that's your Cinderella blue. This is your Love Me by Glam and Glitz, and then my magenta and Cinderella blue that I made myself. So again, remember hashtag ladies, more love, no hate, more love, less hate. I love you all so much. Thank you all so much for continuing to support my channel, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye now.